Imagine waking up every day to find that your money is worth less and less. That's the reality for millions of Argentinians who are struggling to survive in a country with an economy that's in free fall. Argentina's economy has been in decline for years, and it's only getting worse. Inflation is soaring, unemployment is rising, and the peso is plummeting in value. What's going on in Argentina, and how is it affecting the lives of ordinary people? Stay tuned till the end of the video to find out. A century ago, Argentina stood as a formidable economic force. During its zenith in the late 1920s, it boasted one of the world's swiftest growing economies. Continuously, for 5 decades, its GDP per person was akin to that of France or Canada. Moreover, it garnered significant global attention for investments and immigration. Many perceived it as the forthcoming economic superpower that had uncovered the key to rapid progress and would vie with the United States for dominance over the continent. The bedrock of its prosperity resided in agriculture. Owing to the exceptionally fertile Pampas region, Argentina transformed into a global source of agricultural produce. During an era when the world had a strong appetite for resources and was willing to pay a premium for them, Argentina was eager to fulfill this demand. Meanwhile, people from various parts of the world flocked to the country. In its pursuit of economic growth, Argentina adopted an exceedingly pro-immigration stance and welcomed people from all corners of the globe. It even extended monetary incentives to those making the journey to the country. Thanks to its thriving economy, business-friendly policies, and wages surpassing those in much of Europe, this approach triggered a massive wave of European immigration to Argentina. Millions of Europeans from nations such as Italy, Spain, and Portugal chose to commence their new lives in this new world. Between 1870 and 1914, Argentina's population expanded fourfold, and its economy reaped the benefits of the influx of laborers, farmers, and entrepreneurs. Buenos Aires earned the moniker Paris of South America as the continent's cultural hub, and Argentina gained renown as an equivalent to the United States, a thriving economy that welcomed immigrants and was teeming with opportunities for anyone seeking to amass wealth and establish a fresh life. In the early 20th century, the excitement surrounding Argentina's success reached its zenith. It was the place where everything was unfolding, a realm where investment seemed to guarantee profits. A burgeoning economic powerhouse was on the horizon. Coupled with a strategic geographical location and abundant resources, including natural gas, gold, and oil, the Argentine dream was flourishing, and the future appeared promising. However, that radiant future never materialized. Argentina failed to evolve into the economic superpower it was anticipated to become. Instead, its economy has been plagued by constant turmoil and struggles for mere survival. So, what caused this downturn? The explanation lies in Argentina, or more precisely, its leaders, who have a track record of making ill-fated decisions that have precipitated the nation's decline from the pinnacle to its current low. So, here's what unfolded. The reality is that the basis of its prosperity had a rather shaky start. Much like the United States, Argentina possessed a vast expanse of land suitable for agriculture, which it acquired through the displacement of indigenous populations and allocation to settlers tasked with converting it into arable land. However, unlike the United States, where the land was parceled among numerous independent farmers, Argentina's government sold the land to a select group of already affluent farmers and ranchers. This economic elite enjoyed substantial wealth, but owing to a lack of competition, they saw no need for innovation or expansion. Argentina, as a result, failed to diversify its economy into other sectors. When the Great Depression struck in the 1930s and global demand waned, it lacked alternative sources of support. Simultaneously, the global landscape was swiftly changing, with industrialization replacing agriculture as a primary source of wealth for nations. Yet Argentina had leaned on agriculture for so long that it had not ventured into other sectors. Consequently, it began to fall behind. To compound the situation, in the 1940s, a military coup brought a new leader to Argentina, Juan Domingo Peron, who held an entirely different vision for economic recovery. Drawing from elements of fascism and socialism, Peron believed that Argentina's predicament stemmed from excessive involvement in the global economy and excessive exports. Furthermore, he believed that the nation was excessively reliant on foreign capital, and his solution was to make Argentina entirely economically self-reliant by essentially isolating it from the rest of the world. Thus, while the global economy was entering its post-war economic boom, characterized by unprecedented globalization, Argentina was heading in the opposite direction. It pursued a path of closure, imposing tariffs, limiting exports, expelling foreign investors, and nationalizing entire sectors of the economy. Although Peron himself was removed from power by another military coup in the 1950s, his ideology persisted, which included notably generous welfare and social subsidies for the underprivileged and the middle class, offering certain advantages. During Peron's tenure, the working class in Argentina enjoyed the highest wages in all of Latin America. However, the deteriorating economy could never generate sufficient funds to sustain the extensive welfare expenditure. To finance these expenditures, Argentina resorted to an escalating combination of increased borrowing and excessive money printing, resulting in mounting inflation, devaluation of the currency, and a growing national debt. As the economy continued to unravel, Argentina found itself trapped in an unending cycle of political turmoil and constant changes in leadership, with shifting regimes, governments, presidents, and economic ministers, all of whom, regrettably, demonstrated a consistent inability to manage the country's financial affairs effectively. By the early 1980s, the economic predicament had become increasingly unsustainable. In an attempt to divert attention from these economic troubles, the military dictatorship then in power initiated an ill-fated invasion of the Falkland Islands in 1982. This misadventure, which ultimately failed, resulted in the downfall of the regime, financial insolvency, and a decade of economic stagnation. The paradox is that despite numerous opportunities for Argentina's leaders to alter the nation's course over the years, Argentina consistently failed to learn from its mistakes and repeatedly reverted to the same patterns. As the saying goes, Argentina never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. In 1989, the final chapter of Argentina's decade-long economic troubles came to a dramatic close, marked by an astounding surge in hyperinflation that wiped out the savings of a majority of the population and incited widespread riots throughout the country. Individuals who could no longer afford basic necessities resorted to looting supermarkets. To combat inflation, a new president opted for a fresh approach to stabilize the plummeting currency by pegging the Argentine peso to the exchange rate of the US dollar, and this tactic initially yielded positive results. However, while this move brought stability to the currency, it also meant that Argentina could no longer simply print money to finance its spending, a practice that had traditionally been a primary method for Argentine governments to cover their budgets. With this option no longer viable, and in order for the new strategy to succeed, the country had to generate income rather than rely on printing money and implement significant spending reductions. In essence, Argentina needed to change its approach and act differently. Yet, once again, it found itself unable to do so, embarking on another spending spree that the economy could ill afford, this time funded by borrowing funds from foreign investors and the International Monetary Fund, IMF. However, as the global economy decelerated and financial resources dwindled, Argentina encountered a formidable barrier. Following its loss of access to further funding from the IMF, it experienced the most extensive government bankruptcy in recorded history, triggering fresh waves of riots driven by the public's frustration with the government's outright mismanagement and ineffectiveness. Since then, Argentina has undergone 2 decades of ups and downs, but ultimately, it finds itself grappling with the same recurring issues. The government continues to exceed its financial means by spending beyond its capacity, resorting to money printing to sustain its expenditures, and devaluing the currency, which has resulted in ever-increasing inflation. Consequently, inflation rates have now surpassed 100% after 5 years of consistent growth, and the economy teeters once more on the brink of collapse. Therefore, Argentina persists in making the same ill-advised choices that yield identical consequences, perpetuating its perpetual cycle of crises.